All right, welcome to the Wine Cooperative. So excited to be with you guys today. I'm here with Aaron, and we wanted to do a little bit of blind tasting and walk you through kind of our process a bit. You'll see that we do use kind of a combination of the Court of Master Sommeliers grid and the WSET, as well as both of Aaron and I are trained in both of those. But without further ado, we'll get into it and talk a little bit about the wines we're drinking today. Aaron, go ahead.
All right, so we're going with wine number one. So we have a red wine here, no evidence of gas or sediment. The wine is a clear ruby color. It has a subtle water band. You have a medium minus staining, and the tears are quick forming. Moving on to the nose. The wine is clean, youthful. You have red fruits such as cherry, strawberry, raspberry, a little bit of blue fruits with this too, some blueberry, blackberry. There's a little bit of kind of a cinnamon, clove, kind of some baking spice to the wine. There are some notes of kind of potting soil, a little bit kind of like a fresh earth characteristic. Everything's kind of fresh and vibrant. You're not getting, even the earthy notes. They're kind of fresh. The fruit characteristics, a little bit of like a baked characteristic, but possible oak just from some of those baking spice notes. But we'll move to the palate to discuss that a little further. A little bit of kind of like a minty characteristic to the wine, kind of like a rosemary or like a spearmint characteristic. Just kind of like wet stone with the wine as well. But we'll move into the palate. The wine is dry. The wine is high acid, medium body, medium plus tannins, but they're kind of soft tannins. Higher alcohol with this wine. Or high alcohol, rather. The wine has a medium plus finish and a medium plus complexity. On the palate, I'm getting those red fruits. I'm getting strawberry, cherry, kind of raspberry. I'm not getting a lot of that earth component. I'm getting a little bit of just kind of like a wet rock component to the wine. Moving into kind of countries of origin, I'd say Spain, the United States, Italy. I'm thinking that this is a warmer climate wine, just from the riper fruit characteristics, from some of the color and staining on the glass, and the higher alcohol. Possible grape varietals: Sangiovese, Sangiovese, I'd say Cabernet, and Syrah. But I think that this is an old world wine. I think this wine is coming from Italy. I think that this is a Chianti Classico. So I think this is a Sangiovese. I think that this wine is a 2017 Chianti Classico Reserva.
All right, excellent. Great calls the whole way through. I really like it. I think that in terms of Sangiovese, this is probably a bit more extracted, so I think it makes sense that you went with the Chianti Classico Reserva. I don't think it has a ton of age on it just because that fruit is so fresh. So really good. 20 seconds you got to your nose, minute and 40 seconds you got to palate. Initial conclusion started right at about 3 minutes, and you called your wine with 4 minutes and 35 seconds. So great timeline. Aaron, why did you call this what you called it?
Because it's got that kind of higher acid, the higher tannins with it too, but the wine has got a fair bit of alcohol to it. It's got that tannin, but the tannin's kind of washed away by the higher acid. So that to me, it gives it a little bit of a thinner mouthfeel, which I always think is kind of more along those lines of something like Sangiovese, and it had, which I didn't really mention, but it seems to have kind of like this irony component to it. And those red fruits. So that's kind of what I was thinking. And I don't think it quite has elevated enough tannins to be something like Nebbiolo or elevated acid for something along those lines.
Right,
So
right.
that's kind of what drew me into that realm.
Okay, makes sense. All right, you ready for the reveal?
Let's do it. Let's see where I got.
Buffalo, please. Brrr. Okay, in a wicked curveball to start off this blind tasting series. This is actually Tempranillo from Rioja. This is a Grand Reserva from 2011.
Yeah, blind tasting is humbling. It's good
Oh
though.
my gosh, indeed it is. Indeed it is. So just a little bit about the wine. This is just at 10,000 foot view of what it says on the back of the bottle. The most spectacular vineyards in Rioja are owned by bodegas, land, a privileged enclave of 72 hectares of Tempranillo, Graciano, Azuelo, and Garnacha, planted after 1950 and located on the border of Rioja Alta with Rioja Alavesa. Surrounded by the Ebro River, aged in American and French oak during 24 months, followed by 36 months in the bottle. Recommended to pair with roasted meats, lamb, hearty stews, and cured cheeses. So I think, kind of looking back into kind of what you were talking about, I think especially for the age on this wine, it drinks incredibly fresh, incredibly new, right?
What was the vintage on it again?
2011 Grand Reserve.
2011. Wow.
Yeah.
It's got a fair amount of fruit to it still. I mean, it's yeah. I don't hate my call, honestly, but I mean, hindsight's always 2020. But for me, I didn't even think that Tempranillo realm. I did say Spain, but I didn't list the varietal just because I was kind of drawing a blank there. But I was thinking more Grenache, but it seemed to have too much tannin to be anything that like Grenache. But yeah, I mean, for me, I could see why, those red fruits, the tannin. But I think something too that always surprises me is how much acidity Tempranillo can still have sometimes. So I think it's a great wine. It's delicious.
It's a great wine. And I also think that something that you hit on too is, where I see that parallel of something like this that's got that age, and just anything in Italy, it always screams like at least a little bit of oxidation, right?
Right.
And I think that's something that definitely leads you in both of those directions for sure.
Right. I think, warmer climate and that, a little bit of that oxidation and, but still riper fruit and higher alcohol too, right? Like a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's awesome. I mean, punched me in the face. So in a good way.
Okay, perfect. Well,